Has your child ever thrown a stereotype or some misinformation at you and you thought, I hope they've never said that in public, like they did not hear that in my house. I must have failed as a parent. Well, that happened to me twice. My youngest declared that you can tell somebody's race by their voice, and my oldest declared that black on black crime is a big problem because of the signs that he'd been seeing around town. So, after taking a deep breath, I wanted to share with you how I responded, because remember, we're all about raising equity. So when we hear our children spouting information that's just not true and that perpetuates the narrative of certain groups being less than or less intelligent or more violent and perpetuating stereotypes, we've got to check it, yeah? So, with my youngest one, I said, well, sweetheart, you really can't tell someone's race by their voice. I know you kind of feel like you might because certain groups might use certain slang, but that's really about culture and values and beliefs and behaviors and traditions and maybe music and knowledge that people have, and not just somebody's race. And so I gave the example that, sometimes people talk to me on the phone and then they meet me and they're like, oh, I didn't know that you were black, as if black people can't talk proper English, or that they, expected someone different than a black woman because of the way that I speak. And so I wanted to just be really clear that we don't think less of someone if they speak slang, that doesn't mean that they have a lack of intelligence. That means they don't speak proper English. And that in a way is a sense of trying to control people and make people assimilate. I didn't go too far into that conversation about assimilation. I just wanted to remind him that we can't necessarily correlate someone speaking properly to someone's race, that it might more have to do with their culture, where they were raised, the geographic region, and what was in their environment. And then for my oldest, we were actually driving in the car, just he and I grabbed the steering wheel and I said, well, I disagree with those signs because the signs say we must stop killing each other. And yeah, I think we should all stop killing each other. But when you look at the rates, if you look at the FBI statistics, white on white crime is pretty much at the same levels that black on black crime is, because people kill who's near them. So if we have segregated neighborhoods, well, black people are going to be killing black people because that's who they live by. And white people are going to be killing white people because that's who they live near. So I really wanted him to break down why that sign saying black people, we must stop killing each other, could just as well be used for white people, and that to tell just that part of the story, that black people need to stop killing black people, is to perpetuate this idea that black people are violent inherently and they have a problem and they're just really bad at killing people. So I'll leave it to you to dig into some of those FBI statistics, but just to name that we have to know some information to be able to check our children when they spew misinformation, because like in both of these cases, my children were responding to something that they thought they had figured out in the world, and they were even cues that gave them some information to maybe go down the wrong road. And I know that they're just trying to figure out the way that the world works. But as parents, if we're trying to raise equity, we have to be prepared to help guide and shape some of their thinking so that they don't get caught in some of the same traps that others do in society. Those are just a few examples of how I've navigated conversations with my kids in the past few days. What have you been navigating with your kids? What questions or stereotypes or information have they come to you with? And what words have you used? I really do want this to become a community where I not only share with you how I envision that we raise equity, but how others are doing it as well. It's not easy to raise equity, so let's build a community where we can support each other.